This is a response to an AskProfWolff question sent in from a member of our Patreon community, Justin Bloss. He's a student at a unit of the State University of New York who has become frustrated, he says, with the neoclassical economics slant of the several economics courses that he has taken at his university. And he feels clearly that he's not getting the whole story of economics, the different perspectives, the contesting viewpoints, the alternative analyses. And I want to respond to his question about that and his inquiry as to where else he might look. My answer is based on an entire adult lifetime of being a professor of economics here in the United States and for a short time at the University of Paris in France. I started out teaching at Yale University, where I got my PhD degree. I then went on and taught at the City University of New York, at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and I'm currently a visiting professor at the New School University in New York City. So I've had a bit of experience in a variety of places for what I'm about to tell you. Since at least the beginning of the Cold War in the 1940s, so therefore over half a century, the profession of economics, as it is taught in the American college and university, has been terrorized and frightened. Terrorized and frightened about losing jobs, about losing income, about losing the opportunity to do research, to publish that research, and so on. It was made very clear to all of us, both as students and then as professors, that being interested in criticisms of capitalism, in economic theories that were focused on either the criticism of capitalism or the advocacy of an alternative system, would make you have a much harder career path than you otherwise might enjoy. And that's a very difficult situation. If you add to that not only would you be looked at as though you weren't part of the fraternity of economists, and I use that word carefully because when I was coming up, there were almost no women involved. Whatever women in the university majored in, economics was not high on that list. And so in our fraternity, you were given to understand that not only would your career be harder, but you would be looked upon as if something were wrong with you. Maybe you were ignorant, maybe you were obstinate, and maybe you were just a touch disloyal, which was where the terrorism and the fear came in. The end result was, in the 3 schools I attended as a student, Harvard as an undergraduate, Stanford for a year as a master's student, and then Yale to complete my education, I was never assigned, and hear me out, folks, I was never assigned one word of Karl Marx's Capital to read and understand. Even though my professors knew that Marxism was the most developed, the most globally articulated critique of capitalism there was, my professors either didn't know that, which I doubt, or were simply afraid of having anything to do with it. So I had to learn it on my own. And that is my first piece of advice and response to Justin Bloss's question. You're going to have to do it on your own, because the situation 50 years ago is, sad to say, not that different from what it is today. People remain in the profession bound by the way they were educated, or to be honest, miseducated, and fearful, even when they know something, to teach it, especially not in a positive or enthusiastic way. There are a few exceptions, of course, but they are very few and very far between. What do you read? Well, here's the irony. The libraries are full of an immense literature of criticism of capitalism from a variety of viewpoints. The libraries are full of the literature of Marxian economics, that is a systematically developed 150-year-old tradition to which contributions have been made from literally every corner of the planet based on theoretical work, practical work, political work, and so on. You just have to go get it. My colleague Steve Resnick and I, in our last published work together before he died, back in 2013, produced a book published by the MIT Press, which would be a way to start. It's called Contending Economic Theories, Neoclassical, Keynesian, and Marxian. It's available through the MIT Press or Amazon or any of the other mechanisms. And it is a systematic effort to teach students open to learning that yes, neoclassical economics is one way to do it, but it is certainly not the only way. There are alternatives, and an educated person should know about them and not be fearful or terrorized in saluting only one. Last point. If you took a course in religion, expecting to hear the different ways people have found to be religious, but your teacher only taught you one, let's say Buddhism, or let's say Roman Catholicism, after a few days or weeks, you would be entitled to raise your hand to the teacher and say, look, I want to learn about the particular religion you're teaching, but you shouldn't call the course religion. You should call it by what it is, a particular religion. The same applies to economics. You shouldn't call it an economics course when what it really is a course in neoclassical economics that, to make matters worse, pretends it's the only economics there is.